Welcome, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Big show today. We're recording this on Saturday, February 6th. We're going to discuss some off-season stuff, some regular season stuff with the basketball team, and we're going to finish up the show on the Super Bowl. So pretty excited about that.
A lot of off-season in front of us.
Yeah. Still seems like we're going to actually get an off-season. So what we're going to start with today, we're going to talk a little bit about signing day, and then we'll talk about the coaching staff situation. Coombs being now just the regular DC, no co. They took the co away in the promotion of Matt Barnes, and then we'll talk about. Actually, I do want to discuss the schedule. We'll do a couple minutes on the schedule, the movements of the schedule. And then we'll discuss some of the basketball team, and then we will finish up on the Super Bowl. So everything going good today, John?
Everything's good. And, we talked about it being that, end of the regular season, that kind of in-between period right now. The good thing about football, though, is even though you don't got games going on right now, I mean, after this weekend, because you still have the Super Bowl, football never really ends. No. So it's like, there's always, you got your combines, drafts, if you're interested in the pros, you got your signing days, spring workouts, spring practices, spring games. So yeah, we still going to be a lot to talk about. Everything's going well. Personal level, I've been getting into WandaVision. That show's pretty wild. I mean, I won't give out any spoilers or anything. Did you get to watch last night?
Yeah, I watched last night.
Yeah, so
yeah, you watched it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good show. It started off a little slow. It was a little. I mean, I understood. I'm not an avid comic reader, but I do love, comic books. I just don't read a lot of them. But I've been pretty invested over the MCU. So like I understood where I think they were trying to go. And but the first 3 episodes are a little slow. So I mean, if you're into that stuff, if you only watched the first episode, the second episode, and said this isn't for me, give it a chance, because once it really hits episode 4, you really start understanding what's going on right now, and it's starting to get really wild. And I think it's a great show. I mean, kind of like the people that are like, oh, it's too slow or too weird. Like, the MCU they put in so much money in all these movies to build all this lore, and it goes from the comic books. Like, just give it a chance. If you like the movie, you got to have faith that, they're going to tie something back around that you're going to enjoy the show. Yeah. I've been watching WandaVision. Like I said on the last episode, I've I started watching The Wire, which is an older show, but I never watched it when it originally was out. Going to finish the second season today. I'm down to the last episode. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Second season I didn't like as much as the first season, but it's still good. And then I've also been watching The Expanse. So and that was a show that was on Sci-Fi and then got moved to Amazon. If you like sci-fi shows, like real hardcore sci-fi shows, that one is a really good one. And so I've been like kind of rotating. I'll do a season of The Expanse, a season of The Wire, and going back and forth. But yeah, that's on Amazon Prime if you have that. And The Wire's on HBO. So if you have HBO Max or HBO on demand, both are good.
Yeah. Katie and I mean, we're definitely looking for a different, like a new series to watch. Also, we just rewatched all Once Upon a Time. I had never seen it. She saw most of it, which, I mean, it's about like, the fairy tales and stuff, but it's pretty cool. We like all that fantasy and sci-fi stuff and nerd stuff. So we're kind of looking for a new one right now. So if anyone has any ideas, drop me some ideas under the video here.
Yeah. All right. So second signing day, just came and passed. Now we knew going into signing day that, coming out of this December signing day, that we had one person still, the one target left, and that was JT Tuimoloau. We knew we had one more possibility in him. And then as we got closer, his family came out and said that they weren't actually going to sign on the February signing day. They were going to push it back to April because they still haven't visited these schools. I mean, it's been a crazy year. They want to visit it. It seems like all indications is the NCAA is going to finally lift the dead period here. So
the quiet period.
Yeah, whatever it is. So it seems like, eventually these kids are going to be allowed to be invited. And I think they want to look at their 5 schools. And so April, as long as the NCAA allows the visits to happen, they'll happen. And then we will finally get a decision from him. All indications are showing he's still heavily favored to go to Ohio State, but he's a very quiet dude, quiet family. They hold everything very close to their chest. So it will be upsetting if he doesn't choose Ohio State, but it's not going to be a surprise neither, because like I said, I mean, you don't really have a true indication where he wants to go, but it's just all the experts seem pretty confident right now Ohio State is the school. So,
well, I mean, he is a special talent, and I'm not sure. Is he ranked higher than Jack Sawyer? Or they kind of just like depends on the site you're looking at?
I think it depends on the site. I mean, a couple of sites drop Sawyer a little bit, which is still ridiculous.
Well, I saw, one that I'm not going to name names here, but because, JT is a lean for Ohio State. So out of their like top 4 potential bust at the next level, JT and Jack Sawyer are both in the top 4 of what could be bust. Like, I've never seen Ohio State, get a really high defensive end and elite with Larry Johnson, at the helm of these guys, and they end up being bust. But I don't. So, I mean, he's a special talent. I know he plays. I think he's like what he showcased on what I'm watching his highlights. He has a lot more highlights as like tight end than he does at defensive end. So I think that was a lot of what they were saying was, we know him as an offensive player. We don't really know like if he's going to translate at an elite level to the next step. But I think he'll be fine. He's ranked this high. The Buckeyes, everybody's looking at him. So he's going to be good. But the interesting thing is it's actually like a 2-horse race is what people say. It's Ohio State and Alabama are the 2 leaders. And how many kids did Alabama just sign for the greatest class ever?
I mean, I know they had 6 5-stars and like 15 4-stars. I mean, it was a ridiculous class. And
I think 27, 14 early enrollees and 13 have signed the letter of intent.
Yeah. So yeah.
How could you have a 27 kid class?
I mean, Ohio State's done it in the past. It happens. I mean,
I know.
It's not easy to get. I mean, some kids move on, some kids, and this was a weird year. I mean, for a lot of schools, I mean, because, everybody's eligibility, basically the year counted, but didn't count. So.
Yeah. And, Alabama did get a lot of guys that returned this year. So I'm sure that they might have signed a smaller class last year. I don't have that like in front of me. I'm not going to look it up. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just signed as big of a class last year also, but maybe they had a lot that returned. And now that those guys are finally moving on to the NFL, they got that space.
Yeah. And, I mean, you just talk about a class. I mean, we've made jokes that, has Nick Saban made deals with the devil. I still say,
I absolutely agree with that.
I mean, the guy is a living legend. I mean, what he does, he wins titles and he signs the best recruiting class. And then now he's literally signed the best recruiting class that's ever been signed before. So, I mean, kudos to him. I saw a couple Buckeye fans, the thing I love about Buckeye fans is, and we were kind of talking about it earlier, and, I mean, we all are homers.
Yeah.
And, but you get the real hardcore homers that they can't, everything's looked through the scarlet glasses.
Which I would say I fall more in line with that.
Yeah, and I do too.
I'm a glass full, 100% full type guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I do too. I get, my homerism for Ohio State is out of this world, but there's people that are even past that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then
Ohio State could do no wrong, and they're beyond any sort of criticism whatsoever.
And then there's the Ohio State fans that everything, and we're gonna have a couple stories where the sky has fallen, but I did see a couple of people on Twitter like saying, I wish Ohio State could do something like this. And like, literally, you just signed the second best class. I mean, it's, and if we get JTT, I mean, is that going to be the best class we've ever signed?
I don't know if that moves past 2018 or not, but it's
right there.
2018 actually ended up higher than 2017, right?
I think so. I think that number wise, that was the better class, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, So it's not like we're signing, like, I wish we could do that. Like, the hell, man. We're top like 3 or 5 recruiting classes every year. Like,
Yeah.
we're not getting scrubs to come play at Ohio State.
We're right there. You know, I saw the Big Ten. You know, the Big Ten is second in the. So the SEC signed the most 5-stars. I think they were like at 15. So 6 of those are Alabama, and the rest of them are spread out through the conference. You know, the Big Ten was second with 8 5-star kids. 5 of those are going to Ohio State. Like, so.
Right. And if they end up with a 9th, that's JTT, and he went to Ohio State. So Ohio State gets 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ohio State is far pulling their weight within the conference. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, every year, top 3, top 5. I mean, you have your couple years where maybe you're a little lower down. I mean, was it the 19 class?
2019, but that was just a numbers thing. Like, if you looked at their actual star ratings, they were right there.
Yeah. And, you know, they would, if you projected those out, because I remember all the Michigan fans, you know, well, we had a better class. But like, if you literally project these out, we actually have the better class, you know.
Michigan. Yeah. I'll believe Michigan having a better class football team when I see it. That's not happening anytime soon.
So yeah, I mean, Nick Saban, I mean, the man is I mean, he might be immortal. I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't wish for anybody's demise. I mean, it will be, you know, it will be a sad day for the sport when Nick Saban decides to hang it up. I mean, the guy is literally, you're watching history. I mean, this is the best college football coach of all time, in my opinion. I mean, in an era where
I don't think you could even say in your opinion anymore. I mean, the championship's won on the field.
Yeah.
And
he's won
7 now.
Yeah. 6 of Bama and
1 LSU. Yeah. I don't think there's any question about it.
And like I said, when you look at
he was decent in the NFL for those 2 years too. Or 3,
I mean, he was
3 years. I can't remember how long.
I mean, he was like right around 500. Yeah, I mean, he just wanted to go back to college. I mean, he wasn't in danger of getting fired that year.
And obviously he made the right decision. The right job came around. And
but yeah, when you look at, so, I mean, what he does on the field, I mean, he wins titles. And then when he does in the offseason, he wins recruiting crowns and he translates those recruits into championship level players. So it's something, I want to aspire to be Bama too. I mean,
well, who doesn't?
I mean, you want to win championships every year. I mean, that's even more important to me than the recruiting crowns. But I mean, other teams aren't actually doing this. And sometimes, like, you kind of, when you look at New England and Tom Brady, which we'll talk about once we get, you know, to the Super Bowl section at the end of it. I mean, Tom Brady's been to 10 Super Bowls. I mean, some of these elite quarterbacks that are playing at the same time as him I mean, Drew Brees has been to 1. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1. Like,
so Brees only went to 1, right?
Yeah, they both.
He beat Peyton.
Yeah. You know, Mahomes might have an opportunity here to have a lot more down there, I think. But
Roethlisberger went to 3, won 2, lost 1.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Russell Wilson went to 2.
Yeah. Tom Brady's been to 10.
But he's still young. Russell's still young.
I mean, that's nuts. And, you know, so there's just sometimes you can't explain some of this stuff. And to me, that's Nick Saban. And he's, you know, Dabo, which, I mean, Clemson's been pretty much one of the teams of this decade. You know, he's been to a few, but he's only won 2. I mean,
so I said, like, Peyton Manning. So, I mean, honestly, and I think this is honestly like a coin flip, you know, coin toss, that there's really no like, I think you could support this either way. But if you were building a team in their prime from scratch and you had the number 1 pick, would you go with Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? Like, I would say Peyton Manning.
I'd probably say Peyton Manning too. And now, do you know everything that they've done? And this is,
yeah, I mean, you got to.
So Tom Brady's
take into what their careers would be. I guess, I don't know, because that doesn't make much sense. So maybe what they wore in college, but obviously you would take Peyton Manning starting off with that. But as just how they played the game in their careers, I mean, I think I would go with Peyton. But if you look at the 2 of them, man, maybe this is a really dumb argument, but if you look at the 2 of them, though, Peyton went to what, 4 Super Bowls and Tom's going to 10?
Yeah.
Like, that, like, one of the most, like, elite quarterbacks in NFL history. And Tom Brady's more than doubled the Super Bowls he went to.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, Tom Brady is just, I mean, again, these guys are just living legends right now. And so, yeah. Do I think we could have, you know, if things were different, I still think we could have beat that Alabama team we played a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, we didn't play the game how we should have played or could have played. There was some issues that they literally had no control over that was affecting them. And there was issues that they could have controlled that affected them that they didn't. And
when you don't feel confident, you have if there is no backup plan and you're in a championship game, then you're probably in trouble.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a great coach. It's crazy to see this. I mean, I think they showed the last how many years I saw the other day. I thought they showed maybe 10 years, and he's literally had the best recruiting class in 8 of those 10 years. I mean, that's nuts.
What, Georgia had one and Clemson had one?
I think so. I think that was it. Or it might've been LSU had one, but Georgia's definitely had one. And maybe it was the year that Ole Miss had the other one.
Did Ole Miss end up with the number 1 class? I mean, I know they got Kimdichie and Tunsil, and
they paid a lot of money. So
they paid a lot of guys a lot of money. I can't remember who the receiver was. It Treadwell?
Yeah, Treadwell. Okay. All the Michigan fans were, he was definitely coming to Michigan, and then their hearts got broken over that one.
You gotta feel bad Ole Miss had to have spent so much money that year and nothing came from it.
I think the SEC, some of the other SEC schools turned them in and been like, you could cheat some, but you can't cheat more than we.
Right. You can't spend that much. No one's believing Ole Miss is coming down with the top recruiting class in the country. We got to set you back a couple years
when they stole Kindiche from Bama, that was Nick's that's it. I'm turning them in.
Yeah.
Could have took anybody else, but
hey, Hugh Freeze, he made it a while though.
Yeah.
They didn't get him that year. It wasn't until Tunsil went to the NFL that they got
him. So recruiting class, I'm fine. I mean, obviously number 2, I'm ecstatic where we're at. I mean, you look at what we've now overall signed. And I know we did the big recruiting show when we did the December, after the December one. But I mean, these guys, you got literally one of the best running backs in the country.
The best.
Yeah. You got top receiver in the country. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, which I'm really looking forward to us getting into once, we'll get closer into spring here.
I'm very interested
starting to talk about these starts, who these quarterbacks are, because, I saw even people on Twitter, 11 Warriors, I think had an article saying how they, Stroud has to be the favorite coming in, but I mean, he never threw a pass. I mean, and don't give me, I'm not poo-pooing CJ Stroud. I mean, if the dude wins it out, I'm going to be, let's CJ Stroud, let's go win championships.
Watched him in, was it the Elite 11, the opening, whatever. And then, highlights, the kid has all the talent, but realistically, Kyle McCord has thrown more necessary passes recently.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but not practice.
He's thrown. CJ Stroud's been into big college games. He
came in for one play against Clemson, but they didn't throw the ball.
Yeah. And Kyle McCord won a state championship this year. And again, I'm not comparing high school to college, but I understand what you're saying, that, he's actually had to play real football this year.
Right.
Where, he actually had the control of the entire game was on his shoulders.
It wasn't just practice reps. So I don't know. I don't know if Stroud and Miller any bit in front of McCord at this point.
I would say Stroud and Miller, even if they still didn't throw any passes this year, they still only got in a couple games. If they played a full season and had a full off season behind them, I would say, one of them are the favorite right now.
Because, sure.
But Kyle McCord, they're basically all coming in on the same level right now. They didn't get much practice time last year.
Right.
So
right. They didn't have the practice time. And then, Day made it sound like that every snap for everybody was going to be so crucial, but really it was when you got into the thick of things, it was you got to give the guys that, are going to have the ball at the end of the day. They got to get all the snaps because they have such limited game time this year.
And I think as the season was going on for Day, when he realized, all right, our guys aren't gelling as well as they are. Everything needs to go to our guys.
Right. Because they have to have that, game time. Maybe if it did work out that you got to play, 8 games, then maybe you would have seen more, Stroud and Miller, or some of them at least. But it's just how, it's how it played out.
Yeah. So I'm definitely interested how that will go, and we'll definitely be getting a lot more into it. So now I kind of want to switch things over to the coaching staff. so the changes are Madison, we talked about on our last episode, and Greg Madison's retired. So, and we talked about, how should they fill in? And we kind of were both in the agreement that Kerry Coombs should be the actual defensive coordinator. Now they went a little differently than I thought they were going to do. I thought they maybe bring in an assistant coach from somewhere else and then let Kerry, still be cornerbacks coach, but also be defensive coordinator. So what they ended up doing is, Kerry Coombs has been promoted to full-time defensive coordinator. And now Matt Barnes is full secondary coach.
Which, have they had a full secondary coach since Urban has been there?
I want to say, was Kerry after Ash left? Was he?
I thought Schiano took over safeties.
Was he safeties?
I thought so. I could be wrong.
I would have to look it up.
Because then when Grinch comes in, he takes over safeties and Tavers with corners, and then Schiano's kind of like roving between everything.
Yeah.
But I think Schiano works with the safeties for 16 and 17.
Okay. I mean, I'll have to go back and look at it. I thought Kerry had the whole secondary, but I could be wrong. And then his name's escaping me. Who did they promote to special teams?
Parker Fleming.
And I don't know a lot about Parker. The only thing I know is for what Josh Perry said. He was with Urban back in the championship year and a couple of those early years, and Josh Perry, which I have tons of respect for, just said how of a great guy he is, and he's going to do great things. So until I see more, I'm going to go with that. And Josh Perry knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, I'm completely fine with that. I'm completely fine with the promotion. I wasn't going to fire Kerry Coombs after last season. I need to see him with a full off season where he can implement everything. If some of the issues I saw this year are still nagging next year, then we'll have to talk a little bit next year. Yeah. But right now I'm fine with this. I'm fine with what they did. Matt Barnes, if they feel confident that he could run the whole show, then great. Let's see what he can do.
Give him a chance.
I mean, I just don't want things to drop off in recruiting. I mean, he's been recruiting with the Buckeyes for the last couple of years. I don't know how many of these guys, these big recruits have been his guys, but as long as he can hold his weight in recruiting and be a good, I mean, like when you think about Zach Smith actually was a better recruiter than a lot of people thought he was, but he couldn't hold his weight when it came to actually, coaching these kids on days. If Matt Barnes can, in those two areas, if he can coach good and develop these kids well, and they are what we're used to with Ohio State secondaries, and then he recruits good, I'm fine with it, because, that's what you need in college football. You need your assistant coaches have to do both. You can't have it. It's very hard when you don't have one that's holding their weight in one of those two things to pick up the, the slack.
Well, and see, and I, like you said, I really I don't have any issue with giving guys promotions. I'm not going to say, a guy that's been with the team a couple years, Ryan Day obviously trusts him. Ryan Day brought him in. Ryan Day believes Matt Barnes is ready for this promotion, that he can take on more. He doesn't need special teams anymore, that he can work with the secondary. So obviously Ryan Day is, happy with how Matt Barnes understands the secondary. He's happy with how he relates to his players, and he believes in him on the recruiting trail. So I have no reason not to believe in what Matt Barnes can do. Now mine, I had a little bit of issues, and it was more so off. I don't think I ever voiced it on here. I had problems with Corey Dennis getting hired as quarterback.
And I did too.
Because why, you had Justin Fields there. Are you giving the keys to a Porsche to a 16-year-old? He's just, I don't know if he's ready. Now, maybe because, Ryan Day is still there. So, if it's Michael Andretti or Mario Andretti's son that you're giving those keys to, okay, maybe I can understand that a little bit. So maybe because Ryan Day is still there, I get that and I can accept it a little bit more, but that one I had issues.
Yeah. And I think with Corey, we're going to really see what Corey's worth over the next couple years.
This is the time, right?
Because Ryan Day can't, and even though, Justin Fields, you had a guy that was under Fields, under Day for a year, he is a big time quarterback coming out. Ryan Day took him under his wing, and Day still worked with him a lot, even in this offseason. But, now you have three of these guys. So everybody knew Justin Fields was the guy. And so it was a lot easier to manage that situation than what this situation is going to be. And so I think we're going to see what Corey's worth, because is he a good quarterback coach, because now you're going to have 3 legitimate guys, and maybe the guy that ends up winning the job will end up getting more time with Ryan Day, but you're going to still have 2 guys there then that are going to be war with Corey Dennis, and those guys have to be ready. And,
And Justin Fields, I mean, at times, maybe he didn't look as sharp this year as times last year.
Yeah.
Justin Fields still looked pretty damn good this year. So
and
I don't think Corey did poorly. And
I'm not chalking that stuff up against Corey.
Right.
That to me is
like
more just the offseason issues and practice issues.
And Justin had his time with Day also. The other one, though, is like Corey Dennis, as of right now, has gotten the highest rated kid to ever commit to Ohio State. So, you got to trust in the guy until you can't.
Yeah.
So right now they've proven me wrong with that. But like you said, we're going to see a lot of what Corey Dennis is worth up these next 2 years, because he has guys that now is his show that he's running.
Yeah.
It's not you don't have Justin Fields anymore that can kind of like do his own thing. You got to, be the one to teach these guys, and you're their coach now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Corey's got great mentors in front of him. I mean, his father-in-law is, one of the best college football coaches that's ever.
He's going to be a little busier now.
He's going to be busier, but I'm sure he'll still take phone calls. I mean, from Corey, and then you got Ryan Day. Ryan obviously trusted him enough to put him in. I mean, he might have got a little boost from Urban, like give Corey a shot, but it was ultimately still Ryan's decision. And so Ryan's happy with him. He likes him there. So
it's not like Urban hasn't worked with other, good quarterback coaches as well, that if there's something that, he doesn't know, he can always direct Corey to talk to one of his resources. And Ryan Day mostly knows all that stuff anyway. So yeah, he definitely has a good group around him of resources that, he can be successful.
Yeah.
But I would say I was more cautious of him getting hired than I am of Matt Barnes getting a promotion.
Yeah. I'm fine right now with and on the whole promotion thing, I saw some people really going against it, like, and I can't escape his name. The name escapes me right now, and I'm not going to look it up. But the Larry Johnson's assistant coach. I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, when Larry Johnson hangs it up, he's most likely becoming the new defensive line coach. So I mean, he's been here for a while. He's put in his work, and they love him down there. So that's who I think's becoming the defensive line coach when Larry finally hangs it up.
Oh yeah,
and so I mean, this happens. It happens in programs. It's happened. I mean, everybody talks about Alabama this and Alabama that, but even Nick's promoted guys within the program. That's people put in their work, and if they're loyal and they show that they know what they're talking about, they get promotions. And obviously, anybody's been upset with Matt Barnes that enough that they don't think he can handle the whole room. I mean, he's been in the room. I mean,
it'll be 3 years now.
Yeah, so he understands what's going on. He's been under both Carey and Hafley. And so I mean, 2 excellent cornerback coaches that have proven their worth. I mean, the people want to talk down, and maybe Carey, I mean, it's he's proven himself as cornerbacks coach, and maybe he needs this now to concentrate on the defensive part.
I think that's important. Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for Carey to be able to just focus on the defense. And he's always there to help Matt out too. It's not like Carey's not going to be able to give him assistance.
Yeah, exactly. Carey
still his defense. This is effective.
And a lot of these guys, Carey's still going to be probably the main recruiter when it comes to secondary guys, I would assume. And he might be more involved in a little bit of the other stuff, but I mean, every one of our big level cornerbacks that we're known to sign are going to be going through Carey Coombs.
Yeah, so exactly. Carey's going to have a conversation with these guys.
Yeah, so I have a feelings that's not going to change the type of cornerback they bring in there. And so, like I said, if he can hold up his end on both sides of that, on the recruiting side of it and on the coaching side of it, then fine, whatever. Let's bring it on.
If the defense looks like it did in 2018, okay, then fine, you make a change. But I just don't think we need to jump to any conclusions and think that, bad promotions for either of these 2 guys, or a bad idea giving Carey, sole control of the entire defense, because I think that's going to be very important for him, that he needs that time to focus just on the entire defense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement on that. I mean, I'm fine with it. And, ultimately it probably, when we were talking about, we talked about that, we'd like to see them bring in somebody that maybe, because I would like Washington. I think Washington is probably the guy that's after Carey whenever that is. And, and maybe that was kind of my thing. Maybe bring in somebody that could start learning how to maybe take over that spot. And once, Al Washington starts getting more responsibilities, which I think is coming. This is a guy you want to keep on your coaching staff. So
he's an excellent recruiter.
So, he's, from everything we've heard, he's an excellent coach too.
Yeah.
And
you've seen the product on the field. It's not the linebackers' fault that they were asked to cover Devontae Smith.
Yeah. Everybody. The people cutting on Tough Borland. What linebacker is,
Baron Browning, I think, is consensusly thought of he's probably the most athletic of that core four that we had last year. He couldn't cover Devontae Smith.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm fine with the coaching staff. I'm fine with the coaching staff until I'm not fine with the coaching staff. I like how they're going. I think that's kind of Ryan Day's philosophy. It's probably going to be more of Ryan Day's philosophy. I think he probably wants to see if he can grow some coaches under. Now, I don't think he has any problems if he needs to go out. Like if Kerry Coombs decides if the defense ain't working after this year and Kerry Coombs leaves, whether it's on his accord or not, I expect Ryan Day to go out. We'll sign a big time defensive coordinator.
Right, and it'll be an NFL guy most likely.
And, so, I don't think Ryan Day has a problem doing that, but I think probably he wants to bring up some of his coaches because, you're not going to be able to hire a stud coach at every year when one of these guys leaves. And I think that's maybe sometimes what got Urban in trouble is he always tried to, Urban always was known to bring in big time coaching staffs. And then he would maybe get once a couple of his guys would leave, he had a hard time replacing them. Or maybe Ryan Day's philosophy, and he's like, some of these guys, yes, I'll replace some of these guys. If a DC or an OC leave, I'll replace them with an outside guy. But my other guys, like
they've been in the system, they know what I want.
If I can grow somebody, maybe that is the smarter move at the end of the day. He might have, you might not have a Bill Davis situation where it seems like he's completely out of sorts, and this guy doesn't belong here, because you might have a guy that, all right, this guy's been here. He's been learning this system as a coach for the last couple of years. I think he can do it. He's got the energy I like. I think he can recruit. So let's give him an opportunity. And,
Well, I think generally most people think like there's two real elite programs in college football right now, Alabama and Clemson. So this is kind of like the two sides of the coin, or these two teams. Nick Saban, he loses guys. Like you said, he has promoted from within. A lot of times, though, Nick Saban goes and makes a big hire. Dabo Swinney keeps his guys. He keeps his culture, keeps his system. So, I can't, I like Nick Saban. I can't stand Dabo, but there are two different sides to it. And Dabo's been very successful himself.
Yeah.
2 championships isn't 6, but, he has his national titles. He's always playing for him as well. I think Ryan Day's teams are going to be good for a long time. I'm not going to worry until we see something to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So real quick, I wanted to talk a little bit about the schedule. There's not much to talk about. So they did move. So the schedule, nothing's changed on the schedule. The same teams that are here we're still playing the same amount of games right now. We're still playing the same teams, but they did move a couple things around. So originally we were supposed to play Penn State on the week before Michigan. So they moved that up. That's October 30th now. Indiana's been moved to October 23rd. So we're going to be playing those guys in back-to-back weeks. Rutgers, and they went to October 2nd, where Nebraska then moved to November 6th, I believe, whatever the first game in November is.
Yeah.
And then
Purdue's the 13th.
Yeah, Purdue's the middle, and then Sparty took Penn State spot. So our November now is going to be Nebraska, Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan. I believe Maryland's that other game after Rutgers, or it might be before. It might be Maryland's either before Rutgers or after Rutgers. I can't remember, but but we're finishing the month of October against Indiana and Penn State. So good schedule. I like how they moved Penn State out of that spot. That's going to be a night game in Columbus, most likely, October 30th. That always seems to be, or it's going to be big noon. It's going to be one or the other.
That's true, yeah.
It'll either be big noon or it's going to be ESPN night game, which we've had both situations. When the games in Columbus, we've had night games, we've had 4:00 games, we've had noon games. It only seems like when the game's in Happy Valley is
they're always at night,
nighttime. But so, Michigan obviously will be a noon game. So, I mean, it's a good schedule. I am looking forward to hopefully things with the vaccines keep progressing. We did talk about a couple weeks ago. I do expect us to actually have a full season this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, so I think the schedule, I'm interested to see how we do against Oregon. I'm glad that the tackles are all back. That they have what's his face, and then plus a couple because he didn't leave right there, big time defensive end.
No, because he would have only been a true sophomore.
That's right.
What, Kayvon Thibodeau? Yeah. No, he wasn't old enough to go to the NFL.
Yeah, so
I mean, I guess he could opt out if he wants to, if all this crap's still going on again, but hopefully not. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a good challenge, but you feel a lot more comfortable when you got guys like that, when you still have Thayer Munford coming back.
Yeah. So yeah, schedule. I mean, I'm not going to get much into it. It was just news that happened this week that they moved some games around, and I don't see anywhere. I don't like finishing against Penn State, Michigan. I didn't like it when it was a couple years ago. I mean,
well, then you had Wisconsin the week after that.
So it's that's a grind, and even with
the second time you played Wisconsin,
even with as overrated as Michigan is, that's still your rival game. You know how much Ohio State at least gets up for it.
Yeah.
And that's I think why we were so dull in the first half against Wisconsin that year. But I mean, you're playing two legitimate programs in Michigan.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully Penn State's back to legitimate.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see if Indiana, if they can continue progressing, if that was I
don't know. I think that was a COVID year fluke. Sorry. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll see it on the field, but I don't know. And
we're opening up against, I did forget, Thursday. That's
Minnesota.
That hasn't changed, but it is a Thursday game in Minnesota.
Thursday?
Yeah.
And it's better than a Friday game. I hate when they do the Friday games.
And I'm okay playing Minnesota in Minnesota and their open stadium in September.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to
yeah, no, I don't want to go there. I mean, we don't really fear the snow in Ohio, but I don't want to go there in November.
That's just different snow and different cold.
It is. I know. That's like I say that's stuff you and I aren't used to. We're not prepared for that. So
yeah, so we're gonna get a polar vortex this week, and I'm dreading it. And I work from home. So
yeah, right. I know. I don't even go outside.
Like compared to what I used to have to do. So all right. So basketball. Now I'm gonna preface everybody. I mean, I think we're real casual fans. I do love Ohio State basketball. I do watch games when I get an opportunity to watch games. But we're definitely big March Madness fans, and we start always. I mean, we're a lot like a lot of other college basketball fans. We really start paying attention to college basketball now,
about now, because you got football going.
Football's over, so now we're starting to watch games. Watched a little bit of the Iowa game. I think you watched a little bit more than I did. But so we're really close here for the basketball team that they could be a 1 seed going into this tournament. And
I mean, they only have 6 or 7 games left, right?
Yeah, they have. And I had the schedule in front of me.
So I know they got Michigan and Iowa again.
Yeah. So
I would think they end with Iowa, right?
Yeah, they have 1 game in March. They actually end with Illinois.
Okay. So I would think if you win the games you're supposed to, what you have left, and you split those games, I think you got a real legitimate shot to be a number 1 seed.
So right now, they next game's against Maryland. That will be on Monday. And then they play Indiana following that, then Penn State, then they play Michigan. Michigan has 1 loss, then Michigan State, and then Iowa.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely a good schedule down the end there. But like I said, they're tough. I don't know. I don't like you said, we're kind of casual when it comes to basketball. I like what I see. I think is it Dwayne Washington that's had some struggles here and there. So I'm not sure, guys like that, how he's carrying the team, but Liddell definitely seems like, he's the real deal. Justin Ahrens he's no John Diebler, but the guy is pretty lethal from outside. Kyle Young's pretty good inside. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be happy with. And then who are some of those transfers? Like Justice Suing, Towns. Yeah. They definitely got some good kids that are playing there. And I think they have a legitimate shot to be a number 1 seed. I think they have a legitimate shot that they can go, go a couple rounds into the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be interesting this year. I think
like Duke and I think all like Duke, Kentucky, and UNC, I think they're all kind of down this year. Like,
yeah, it's been again,
such a strange season in all of sports.
It'll be weird that it's going to be a Friday to Monday opening 2 rounds this year. And
so the Thursday is just the first 4. So don't waste your vacation day on Thursday. Make sure you take off Friday.
Yeah, which I did. Normally I'm a Thursday, Friday guy.
I took the whole week off.
Yeah, so
I had time to use. I figured that was a good enough week to use one of my vacation weeks.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching the Maryland game here on Monday and paying more attention to them. And I really interested to see what they can do. They can get a top seed. It's great. I mean, it's all going to be played in Indiana. I mean, they're not going to get a favorite.
Right.
They're not going to be playing Ohio games in Ohio because they're this area's top seed. But it'll be interesting how that whole setup works this year with how playing all the games in Indiana, and most of them are in Indianapolis, and see how that goes. I mean, I know it makes sense to put everything in hell. I mean, I argued that why they should put the national championship, the entire semifinals and national championship game in one area for football, but then just keep the teams there. And
I'm not sure if you got a bubble. I don't know if Tommy Togiai and Tyreek Smith have to miss the national title game.
Yeah, so interested to see how this goes. I do think if they knock off Michigan, I would have to think that they are at a point at that a favorite to possibly get to the top seed.
I would have to imagine, even like I said, if they beat Iowa a second time, as long as you don't lose a bunch of those other games in there, I would think they got to be pretty close to be a favorite as a 1 seed, definitely a lock for a 2 seed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know at that point what you really have to do. Is there going to be a tournament this year?
I wish I would say I know that. Are they doing? I'm not sure. I have to look it up if they're doing the Big Ten tournament. I'm going to say I think they are. They did a full schedule. But
so if you're doing your Big Ten tournament, I don't know at that point how many games you got to win in the Big Ten that you're already locked as a 2 seed if you beat Iowa second time. So because I think they have the most like top 25 wins or something in the country.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they've looked good, and he's proven himself. He was a good replacement for when Mata stepped down, and
they're like the freaking cardiac kids, though, man. I mean, all those games come down to the wire.
I watched the last like 5 minutes or so of the Iowa game. When I saw I got the update that it was a close game, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn that on, and they're exciting. I was excited watching them, and like I said, these next several games, I'm looking forward to watching at least part of all of them. If not all of them, I will watch probably the majority of them. And and we'll see what they can do. And I'd love to see them get a top seed. And I'd love to see them win a few games in the tournament because, that just, they've been able to get recruits throughout the years. They're no Kentucky, no Duke by any stretch of any imagination, but they can recruit at a high level. They've been to Final Fours.
Holman's had trouble keeping his recruits.
Yeah, he has. So we'll see how that goes down the stretch. But he, as you said, he's picked up a good couple transfer kids, and he's has gotten some decent recruits here.
He has a good core that I think they can go pretty far into the tournament. Now, I saw a poll, I think it was on Twitter, that they were asking, like, if you could, one player from years past, if you could just put on this team, who would it be? And I know the game of basketball has kind of changed.
I know,
but college basketball hasn't changed that much. Like, I mean, I think it's just, there is no other answer besides Greg Oden. Like, you got, if there was one guy you needed on this team, Greg Oden is it.
Yeah, if they can.
I mean, so many of those guys could be helpful, like your Solis, Bufords, Diebler, but no, Greg Oden's the only answer.
Yeah, Greg Oden is he almost single-handedly beat Florida for everybody. I remember that whole year, everybody was like, is he really worth it? I mean, is he really as good as everybody?
How dominant was he in that national title?
And then in the national championship game, you saw he almost single-handedly won the game.
And I mean, you shoot lights out pretty much the entire season up to that game. It's like,
if their shooting held up like it normally does, they easily win that game.
The one game you don't hit your shots. So is this team, I got to ask then, is this team destined to lose to Alabama in the national title game and at the end of the college basketball season?
How is Alabama in basketball?
They would be they're fringe between a 2 and a 1 seed. They're good.
Okay. Rematch. If that happens,
a lot of people think we're going to get paired with them on the same side of the bracket, though. So I don't think we would get in the championship with them.
Hopefully they beat them.
Know how that stuff works.
Hopefully they beat them in basketball.
Yeah. I mean, you never know how that stuff works out. I mean, the one year we were the number 1 seed total and we got the bracket of death or whatever they call,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. All right. So Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The legend against the kid, who they both have Super Bowls. They've third straight year that they've played each other. This is they're 1-1 over the last 2 years, and it was the AFC Championship game. So my feelings are, I think Kansas City is going to win the game. That's my feelings. But if at the end of the day,
I like Tampa Bay's defense.
If Tampa wins this game, I'm not going to be surprised by any stretch of any imagination.
So here's what I'm going to say. And I know like a lot of people listening to us, like they don't know this stuff about you and I. So we moved to Connecticut when we were younger. The Browns moved away from Cleveland in 1995. So there was no more Cleveland Browns. So you and I, we pretty much started rooting for the Patriots almost immediately after because of where we live. So it was never anything to do with being front runners or anything like that. Honestly, it was more so everyone else rooted for the like Giants and Jets, and I didn't want to be like everyone else. So.
Yeah. So, and the Patriots, so we moved to Connecticut in the winter of 93, 94, the Browns playoff win.
We watched the Patriots and I rooted for the Browns. So
we watched that in Connecticut, and we watched the Browns beat them. And then and then the Browns move. They 95 and after 95. So the Patriots make that Super Bowl. And so it was kind of like, all right, well, maybe we were a little bit of a front runners, but everybody, like you said, everybody where we lived in Connecticut, everybody was Giants fans, and then you had some Jets fans get there. There was actually not many Patriot fans.
Right. Which a lot of people in the area, they became front runners.
So where in baseball, it was different. It was almost like where we lived, because we lived right outside of Hartford. So it's about 2.5 hours to New York, 2.5 hours to Boston.
It was pretty much split.
Yankees, Red Sox, but not in football. Everybody was Giants fans, and so we rooted for the Patriots, and the Jets sucked, and so but we rooted for the Patriots. So there's always a little special spot for the Patriots.
When they win their Super Bowls, of course, I'm a Browns fan first, but I'm always kind of happy when they've won their Super Bowls. So with that being said, Tom Brady is no longer on the Patriots. He's just a former skunk weasel, one-time backup quarterback that I can't stand. I hope he goes down like the piece of trash that he is tomorrow.
I've actually, after watching last year, and I remember talking to, our dad last year's Super Bowl, and like, I mean, I'm always gonna be a Browns fan, but I'm like, every year I was always like, why do I put myself through this punishment with the Browns? And like, and last year when I was watching the Chiefs, I'm like, I should become a Chiefs fan. There's, I like Mahomes. I like what they are about and stuff. I mean, I'm never gonna leave, my loyalty to the Browns, but it's just. And then, this year the Browns, possibly show they finally have hired the right head coach and has the right plan going forward. But
you got to be cautiously optimistic with the Browns, though, because we don't see good seasons often. But when we do, it's like, okay, things have turned the corner. And then you take 2 steps back. So,
So like I said, I think they finally have gotten the right head coach. So, and that's always been the big problem. And
I know. I mean, I'm surprised we're not replacing a coach after this year.
Yeah. So
that's craziness.
But I love him. I do love Mahomes, and when I watch him, that's like, even when they, obviously I hated to see him when he got hurt against the Browns, and like, because he's just one of those players. Like, the game is literally better when he's playing.
Oh, yeah,
he's just a stud. He's a superstar. And
definitely made you think the Browns had a better shot of winning that.
Oh yeah, definitely, and they should have. Like, they could have.
Chad freaking Henne, who was never even a running quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, how many years are we talking in the league? Like 13?
Yeah.
Like, he's not a young man.
Yeah. So
running for 13 yards.
Yeah. So I think I definitely think the Chiefs are going to win this game. They're a 3-point favorite. So it's, would I be surprised if Tom gets it? Now, I get what you're saying about Brady, but if he wins his 7th Super Bowl, I mean, that's pretty fabulous too. And, I'm not going to be upset one way or the other at the end of this. This is
he lost to the Giants and Eagles.
So, I think the Chiefs win. I think I'm kind of saying I've been kind of feeling this 31-34 to kind of 24. That's kind of so it's. I think it's going to be a 7 to 10 point win for the Chiefs. But Tom, what I saw against Green Bay, lucky the game again. Super Bowls, at least it's in good weather, because he was struggling in that cold weather.
Yeah.
His arm's not what it once was. Obviously, I mean, as much as he has an unbelievable workout routine. He eats great, and but father time still.
Father time's undefeated.
It doesn't matter the different things you do, and trust me, you could be an unbelievable workout star and eat right, and he's still in great shape. It's unbelievable he's still playing professional football, but still, you can still tell he's slower. Sometimes his timing's a little slower. Sometimes what he's seeing is a little slower than what it used to be, and that's just stuff you can't work on. That's
no, I mean, he is slowing down a little bit. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them win. I just kind of feel like you said, like the Chiefs have just kind of been the team, the last couple years. And even like Brady's last, Super Bowl that they won when they beat the Rams, he had to go through, they beat the Chiefs that year to get to the Super Bowl. And it was kind of like, that was a, kind of like an upset. Like the Chiefs have been the team now for like kind of like 3 years in the AFC. So I think,
and the Chiefs actually, they're the ones that came back to tie that game.
Yeah.
And Patriots got the kickoff, and,
I think the Chiefs, I think they're better. I am interested though. I do kind of like Tampa Bay's defense. So I'm interested to see what they can do. And the Chiefs don't have an elite defense.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because I don't know, they're going to be getting a bunch of pressure on Tom Brady throughout the game. Yeah. And we've seen in the past that a lot of times it's, the pressure that really gets the Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that gets to any great quarterback.
Yeah.
That's how you beat them is, get someone in their face.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested to see how I do agree that I do like Tampa's defense. Interesting how to say they play both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I mean, that's such a deadly 1-2 punch. And
Mahomes healthy.
I don't know if he's playing this week or not. He might be, but Mahomes just knows how to use those two perfectly. Yeah. Right. I mean, and he uses both interchangeably, and it's just, they can kill teams.
I mean, I don't know Kelce if he's any better than what Gronk was, but kind of like, same, like Gronk's kind of like the prototype there, but Kelsey's not far behind what Gronk was able to do.
And speaking about Gronk, I mean, his story this week when
let's get Gronk another Super Bowl title.
When he said that, so he, I don't know if you guys read it or not, but he had to do when he had to do his virtual workouts in the off season. He was supposed to do sprints every day and send them in and stuff. So he just did 1 day's worth of sprints and just changed his shirt. And
the thing is, though, Rob Gronkowski, he does not strike you as an overly intelligent person, and I hate to say that, but it's kind of genius. Like, let me just get my workouts done in 1 day.
I don't know if he was smart about admitting to it, but of course, he's probably, who knows, he might be retiring again here after this year. And so, I mean, whatever. I thought that was genius. I read him
hopefully he did like different angles and ran a different way,
spritzing himself with water.
Like, Rob, the sun looks exactly the same. Like, the weather looks exactly the same from 1 day to the next.
Oh, it's just nice weather, man. It's Florida.
It is. Yeah, I know. It is beautiful there.
So, so, and I think you wanted to bring up one thing. We'll finish off the Penn State there.
Oh, yeah. So
speaking of Super Bowl,
I almost brought it up when we were talking about if Penn State was going to be, a good team again. But for those of you that haven't seen it or did, Penn State, they released this graphic and it was the funniest thing. And it says, a Penn Stater has been on every Super Bowl team ever. And then it has in small fine print underneath it, except for 5 years since 1967. And some schools had some fun with it. I can't remember exactly what the Michigan one said. I mean, it's probably the only time I ever think they did anything funny, but theirs is like, Tom Brady has been in every Super Bowl. At least it feels that way. And
it's true.
Ole Miss had a funny jab at it. I can't remember, like one of the Coastal Carolina or East Carolina or something. They did a jab at it too, where they're like, we've been in every Super Bowl or we've watched it from home or something like that. Yeah, they were good, but I can't believe a college. I know it all comes down to recruiting and you want to appeal to the guys like, oh man, they develop people, they send them to the next level, but just like blatant nonsense lies
to put into the fine print.
Yeah. If you need fine print, like recruits are smart enough to read that. You just look stupid as hell to them too.
So I actually did not see it, and you told me about it this morning. So that was I had a big laugh with that one.
Yeah, I mean that's like borderline embarrassing.
Yeah. All right, so I think we'll get out of here with that. Looking forward to watching the Super Bowl tomorrow and seeing how the basketball team, the Buckeye basketball team can.
Tonight, Duke, UNC?
That I'm not sure, but I'll have to check it out.
I think so. I don't think either team's really that good this year, but I'll have to look into that. But I do think it's tonight. I think we got some decent games today. I think Alabama's playing Missouri. So I might check that one out to see.
Yeah, Alabama, Missouri.
We got Oklahoma, Iowa State, Kansas, West Virginia. That's a top 25 game. That should be pretty good. Wisconsin, Illinois. Maybe see what some of the teams in the Big Ten, like what they're looking like, what they're all about. They don't look like either UNC or Duke are ranked, are they? And they're both bad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, really, can you ever think of a time that
neither one of them ranked.
Holy crap.
They do play at 6 tonight, so
maybe watch it, but it don't sound like it's going to be that good of a game.
Yeah, so some good games, some good basketball games on today, the day before the Super Bowl. So here we go. So
maybe I'll catch up on some cleaning or some check out a new TV series or something today.
So I think, like I said, we're going to get more into, I think, winter practice. The winter workouts begun now. I think they said they're beginning in February. So,
I mean, I think they are. I know they're not. When spring practice starts in mid-March?
Normally.
I think everything was kind of still on schedule. It might have been like a week later, but I think the spring game they said was listed for mid-April.
Okay. That's usually about right. Usually at least the last several years, they would do they would start spring practice, then they would go on spring break, and then they would come back. So, I mean, I think that's probably because usually spring break falls in there somewhere.
I mean, they need they need to let them just do full practice.
Yeah, exactly. If they could play games and everything else now, they can practice.
I know. I mean, I know you want the vaccines distributed and everything, but just you gotta let the guys. If someone gets it, same crap as before. Tell them they got to go sit. That they're not allowed to practice with the team.
And it's different now. It's the off season, so I mean,
can't shut everything down again. Just let them practice. Let it work its way out. If someone gets it,
yeah,
they can go through the 17 days and they'll come back when that's done.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. So take us out.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping in today at the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OHIO.
Well, thank you for watching here, the Buckeye Bar Guys, here on the Buckeye Bar Talk network. Please subscribe to the network, and when you get the little notification bell, just hit that. Hit all notifications. That way you will get alerted when all the new episodes come up. Comment, like the show, and we hope you join our community. Come join our bar.
Like, comment, share. I'm John. That's Mike. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.